What we're going to do today, can you hear okay with this? All right. What we're going to do today is have the candidates start off with about a 5-minute introduction to give information about themselves, political history, their accomplishments, etc. And then what we'll do is I've got some questions, and we'll ask them to respond. This isn't really going to be a debate format. It's just an opportunity for them to state their view on the questions. And then at the end, they'll have 5 minutes to kind of wrap up. And we need to get this wrapped up here by 1 o'clock, so we're going to have about 40 minutes worth of questions. So do you have any questions? No? Well, Karen, would you like to start?
Sure.
And I'll just pass the mic back and forth, because otherwise it's going to be a lot of jumping up and down. You just want to sit, or you want to stand?
Shall I sit?
Yeah, and then you
Everybody
can
see
just,
me? Stand, please.
stand there.
Stand, okay, fine. Most of you in this room know me. For those that don't, my name is Karen Renny, and I am running for the 104th District State House of Representatives seat. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to working real hard for it. I don't take anything for granted. It's not a given. I plan on working very hard. Having said that, I think I have bring a unique perspective to this race. My husband and I have been in the business community over 40 years. We have developed businesses, built businesses, employed people, actually Charlie went 3 years without a paycheck. While we did that, I always worked as a registered nurse and supplemented our income. There were sacrifices to be made, we were willing to do it. Having said that, I understand what it takes to be a business owner. I know what it means to make the sacrifices and to make the hard decisions. We've had good rapport with our employees. Some of them still are in contact with us today, I'm proud to say. When I left, I worked every weekend when Charlie worked during the week. We started off, actually. I started off as a registered nurse, and Charlie, we married young. I started off as a registered nurse, and Charlie was an engineer at Ford Motor Company. Shortly, about 10 years into that, he decided he wanted to have his own business. And we did do that, as long as I would be willing to work even 7 days a week so I could support our family. And I did do that, as that was the only source of income. After Charlie became very successful, he was the #1 Harley-Davidson dealer in the country, we expanded and opened another store. We lived in St. Clair, Michigan at the time. His one-way commute was 80 miles one way. I worked the East Side store when he opened up the West Side store. I employed a lot of people. I had a lot of customers. Then every weekend, I would go and work in an operating room at St. Joe Hospital in Mount Clemens. And I worked 2 12-hour shifts, which gave me a full week's pay. And it was a great experience. It was all the trauma and whatnot, and it was a real good learning experience. But I told somebody recently, I've been fortunate and blessed to have abundant energy my whole life. I've never needed more than 4 hours of sleep. So during that period, when I would work all night in a trauma setting, I would leave the operating room setting and drive to open up the store in Mount Clemens and work there all day. And when I would drive home at night, I would have the window rolled down to have the cold air hitting me in the face to keep me awake. And I slept very well that night. It didn't matter to us. We were focused, we were driven. This is the same type energy I would bring to this race, even today. This isn't something I'm talking about years ago. Charlie and I have commercial properties and residential properties. We still have, own, and rent. I don't have to tell any of you that know anything about the residential or commercial market in particular. It's very challenging. And we keep it afloat somehow, and it's a challenge. Not that long ago, many of you know, because you've worked with me, you know my work ethic, you know what I'm capable of doing, what I will be willing to do. I got disgusted with the way things were going. And I thought, I'm only one person. then I can make a change, and I'm going to make a change. Somebody told me, Karen, you're on a 5-month job interview. I recognize that. I don't assume anything. I want belief of all of you that you know when you have somebody to Lansing, they've been in those experiences of a business owner and a nurse. I understand what's going on in the healthcare community. That's a unique perspective my opponents do not have. I'm there every week. Please consider putting your trust in me. I would not let you down. Thank you very much.
Hello again, I'm Rob Hentschel. I didn't prepare, I did zero preparation for this. So, because I just wanted to come off the cuff, there's a scripture that says it's out of the overflow of the heart that a man speaks, and I believe that. So I want you to know what's in my heart, and if that's not what's right for this position, then you'll know it right off. So a little about me, I'm Rob Hentschel, born and raised right here in Traverse City. Family roots here going back to the homesteads on the peninsula. So back in the 1950s, my grandfather worked at Parsons factory. He started a small business on the side and later took it full-time. Today, that business, 55 years of business, is Roy's General Store, where I work with my father and my uncles, and I currently act as the CEO of the company for the family. When they gave me that title, it sounded prestigious. Then I figured out that's the person that gets to deal with the regulations and the bankers and the lawyers. Which actually leads me to being in a good position to represent our area in Lansing. Because whenever there's a new regulation, I'm the guy that gets to deal with it. And I feel like a lot of our representatives in the past haven't been in that position. The majority of our representatives in Lansing, our state reps, are attorneys, or something very similar to that. A few business people, but there's kind of a minority of people that have to make a payroll every week. And I think that's reflected in some of the laws we get and the regulations that come down to us. So that's a major motivation for me, is that we need common sense regulation on businesses. And even with a Republican majority in the Senate and the House and the governor's seat, some of the stuff I've seen coming down, it's kind of minor to the general lives of everyone in the general public, but to a business owner, these little things stack up, they add up. Some things are supposed to be simplified, they're getting kind of more convoluted as we go. Instead of one license to sell bedding plants in the spring, we now need 2 because we have shrubs too. So it's just, there's a license for everything. I think we need a common sense view in Lansing. I spent some time on the county commission. I was on the Grand Traverse County Commission prior to last year. I also sat on the Northern Lakes Community Mental Health Board. I'm currently the secretary of the Rotary Club of Traverse City. I meet right downstairs in the Dome every Tuesday. I'm involved in the community a lot of other ways. Teach Sunday school, Buckley Old Engine Show. I'm part of a family that really gets involved. Member of the NRA. Well, you name it, there's a Hentschel probably involved in some. So I've got a lot of perspective of our community, what's important to the people here. But I guess if there's something unique about my perspective, it's that I'm the guy that's in the grind day to day. I'm not looking for a career in politics. I'm just looking to go offer a perspective for a few years that doesn't seem to be present in Lansing, and then come back and run my hardware store. That's what I want out of this. I just want to have a say. I don't want a retirement in politics, and I don't want a career in politics, but I want to participate for a time. So I don't need to take up all the time. I'll pass it back to Randy.
Thank you. Some of the questions are going to just be, you can just give us a yes or no or a short answer. Others might require a little bit longer. So I'm just going to kind of moderate the time as we go rather than set a fixed amount of time. But I'd like to keep the responses to about a minute or 2. So if we could do that, that would help. So Karen, what is the major problem you find or see in the position you are running for, i.e. state representative, and what would be your solution?
Well, I think Lansing has lost touch. They're looking more like Washington, D.C. to me all the time. I'd like to get back to family values, common sense values, and we've lost sight of that in Lansing. Some of the regulations, as Rob stated, I'm right there with you, gave me a lot of this gray hair. I had to go many times for licensing for this or that, and wore me out. And we deserve better than that for our constituents. There's not anything I wouldn't do for the people of Grand Traverse County. And I want to give people faith in their government again. I've met a lot of people in this journey that are so apathetic and so disillusioned and so turned off. Like, Rob, I've had a career. I'm not looking for a political career. I am looking to serve the people of Grand Traverse County, and I give it my all.
Thank you. Okay, Rob, what is the major problem you find or see as a representative running?
Major problem, boy, where to start? I see an overarching problem with our political system in general. And don't get me wrong, I believe America, the United States of America, is the richest, strongest, freest country in the history of the human race. It is the best political system out there. But there's still humans involved, therefore it's imperfect. I see a lot of crony capitalism stuff going on. I see the lobbyists having the voice stronger than the people. And I've heard that from a lot of people I've talked to in this race. So I think one of the big problems I aim to solve is to really give the people a voice and to have someone that's in touch with the community, in touch with the business community, the senior community, the retirement. It's larger than ever before. It's really important. I see issues with the budgeting, and we have roads issues that we have to deal with, and I have a plan for that. We're spending $2 trillion a year on prisons, and $1.5 trillion on higher education. There seems to be an imbalance there. I see a lot of room for improvement. So when I look at going to Lansing, I feel like let's dig in. Where do I start? Because I've got a lot of good ideas that I want to start working, and it's a process. There's no one that goes into Lansing and just bulldozes through and makes things happen. You've got to be able to work with others. And I work in a family business, and I know what that's like to deal with different personalities and to get people lined up to go in one direction.
Yeah, I was thinking rather than rotate it back and forth, where Karen has to speak off the cuff and you get a minute to think about it. I can ask you the next time. Karen gets to think about it. So I'll try to rotate that back and forth. And we've already been through this, but do you support a part-time legislature? Why or why not?
Actually, I kind of just touched on that a little bit, but let me expound on it. What currently happens now, I don't endorse any other candidates, and there's no other candidates endorsing me that I'm aware of. When I first thought about running as state representative, I talked to our current state representative, Wayne Schmidt. He invited me down to spend a day in Lansing, and I took him up on it. It was in December, about a year, almost 2 years ago now. I went down and I got the Lansing experience, the state rep experience, spent the whole day with him. And it was, in the morning, it was lobbyist meeting, after lobbyist meeting, quick photo op, then a lobbyist meeting. What happens right now, there's a huge industry of lobbyists right now in Lansing. And it's nice and cozy for them because all the reps are right there, 3 and 4 days a week. They can just go and talk about their special interests. And that's good, that's part of our system. I think it's important that people should be able to come together, form a group, and present their case to the representatives. However, it might be a little bit too cozy. If we had a part-time legislator, your state representative would be here in the district. And if a lobbyist had something important to talk to them about, they would have to make the trip to every district to talk to those representatives. That would, I think, balance the playing field for the average citizen. Because I would be waiting on you, selling you plumbing in the week, instead of down there sitting for 3 meetings, one after another with lobbyists. And while you're there, you'd have an open access to me. You could come, and you don't have to buy plumbing, but you could just come say hi, and say, hey Rob, I hear this issue's going on in Lansing, I want to tell you what I think. And I'd be there because I'd be in the community working. That would be my career, and being a representative would be not my main career as it is now.
I've been talking about a part-time legislature for 2.5 years. I've spoken about it, I've had it in print for several months now. This started when I met Governor Rick Perry of Texas in Mackinac Island. And he talked about the merits of the part-time legislature, and I don't have to tell any of you in this room how Texas is doing, do I? And that was really piqued my interest. I, like you, Rob, have been down for the day with Wayne and been to different meetings, too, MAC meetings and whatnot. I met a lot of lobbyists and they're great people. But I can tell you here and now, the people that are against the part-time legislature are the lobbyists, first and foremost. Now keep in mind, a part-time legislature is working very well in 46 states right now. So I'm a big proponent of it. There again, I'm not doing this for a career. I'm not doing this for money. I'm doing this, and I don't have to do this job. I want to do this job, and I look at it because I have a heart of a nurse. What took me to nursing is I have a heart of a servant, and I will take that same heart with me to Lansing, where I want to be of service to the people.
Okay, you get the next question? All right, the 10th Amendment is being compromised due to acceptance of federal dollars. What can be done to wean us from being controlled by the federal government?
Well, that's tough. You know, it takes baby steps, but we have to believe in our state rights. And I'm a huge proponent of our Constitution. I carry a pocket Constitution with me wherever I go. Mine is from Representative Franz. You know, we have to remain strong. We have to set by an example. We have to show what we can do in this state and not be beholden to the federal government. When I started this journey and I thought about it and I prayed about it, I thought, I'm just one little woman. What can I do? But I can do something, and I can be a speaker with your help. And that's what I would ask for, your help. If any of you pick up one of my palm cards, and I've been dispersing them in the area, it has my personal cell phone number. I've already got, my phone's ringing off the hook with people. They're angry, they're concerned, they're scared. What can we do? Where do we go? I'm accessible now, I will be accessible in the future.
Rob? What can be done to wean us from being controlled by the federal government through their money?
It's a great question, Randy, and this is something we've struggled with on the county commission, and I think we struggle with this as Americans, as a people. I believe we're a nation that's of the people, by the people, for the people. And that also means the solutions have got to start at the ground level, at the grassroots. We've got to change how we think about tax dollars. We've got a lot of people in our society that say, I'm getting a subsidy, I'm getting a check, I'm getting a whatever from the federal government, as if it's someone's own personal money, as if it doesn't come out of anyone's pocket. We've really got to change that mentality as a community and as a national community. We've got to really recognize that when we get a grant for something, it actually is our own money. It came out of our own pockets. And when we get people to start to recognize this, that just because we're spending tax dollars on this project that came from someplace else, doesn't mean it didn't come out of our pocket. It all came out of the local taxpayers and businesses. That's where it came from, and it's just coming back. So when we spend that money, we have to spend it as wisely as we would out of our own pocket. And so, there's no easy answer for this. It's an erosion that's happening at the state level and at the local level. So we need to elect representatives that recognize that this is a problem, and we also need to be active in our communities to try to change this trend, this idea people have that it's just money out of thin air. No, that's someone, working man or woman, that came out of their sweat and labor.
Okay, next question. There's a bill in the House that deals with allowing foreign laws on our courts. And this bill has not been brought up to out of committee yet. As a state rep, would you support that bill? and what would you do to make it a priority?
Okay, my understanding of the bill is that it basically says foreign laws don't have effect here. So, and I think that it's, whether it's stated or not, it's referring to like Sharia law, the Muslim law, maybe some UN law that someone far away made and expects us to just get in line. And it's really easy for me to say, I obviously totally agree with that sentiment. The way Lansing works, for those that might not know, is any representative, there's 106 of them, and they can put legislation out there. Then it's up to the leaders of the majority party to send that off to which committee. And then for it to actually get voted on, the chairman of that committee has to say, this is what our committee is putting forward, the Speaker of House puts it out, and then everyone votes on it. Most bills don't make it out of committee. Far and wide, there's thousands of bills during a legislative period, and only a handful actually get out to be voted on. Probably more than I would prefer got voted on. There's still a ton of extra laws. But this one is probably going to die in committee unless it has a lot of support. I personally would like to see it out there. I'd like to see it voted on and passed.
This is another reason to have a part-time legislature. All these needless bills that are being submitted here and there. I think I heard last week that they were going to vote on the tree frog. And I just think that in these times when we're all budgeting and frightened about how we're going to make our electric bill or our propane bill, some of these things need to be curtailed. I'm in agreement with Rob on that. I think it will be tabled. I'll tell you what, if I'm there, and I know I'd be just new to the system, they'd have to go over me on something like some of these needless bills.
Thank you. Okay, the next question will be for you then. A lot of money, both federally and state, is doled out through the process of grants. Grants to government organizations and grants to organizations. Do grants promote the rule of law and liberty, and why?
Everybody in this room knows that I'm married to a county commissioner by the name of Charlie Renny. He's been written up in the press lately because he's kind of got an attitude where he's pounding his fist on the table for the citizens of this community. He stands alone quite often because we are both united in our belief that there's no free lunch for anybody. Sometimes grants are worthwhile, but more often they're taken from you and you and you, and you have to pay the piper. We're looking at a huge issue in the county coming up very soon, which sounds great. It's going to solve problems temporarily. It's going to kick that can down the road. But eventually, you have to face your problems. Charlie and I have always been dollars and cents people. We look at the bottom line. If it's going to cost the taxpayers money, it's not acceptable to us.
Well, I think I've already touched on this, but with reference to rule of law, does our current system of grants, how did you phrase it?
Does that promote rule of law?
Does it
or is
promote?
it consistent with the rule of law?
Is it consistent with rule of law? Well, it's really back to picking winners and losers at the state level. I'm sure there's some advantages to the system of grants. Generally, it's communities where people are going to try and put it to good use, impress the grant reviewers. And I sit on the Traverse City Rotary Club board. I've reviewed several grants that the Rotary gives out. That's all nonprofit money. That's not government money. That's where the grant process really works well. The Rotary Club has inspired a lot of really cool things to happen in this area through that grant program. I really question the usefulness of it at the government level. Once we get to public money, now we're taking your dollars and saying, you're good enough, but you're not. And I don't think that's appropriate at the government level. I don't think that's the appropriate use of government. I don't think that's why our founding fathers gave up so much of their own personal wealth and time and family time and life and liberty, really. I don't think that's really what was intended when our founding fathers did all that for us.
Thank you. Okay, next question. Where do our rights come from? And what is the role of state government in defending our rights?
So this is the philosophical Bentham versus Locke argument. Do our rights come from, as a whole, collectively, our government and our society, or do our rights come from a higher power? I tend to agree with John Locke, as did our founding fathers, that our rights come from God, and it's right there in our founding documents that, you know, we're endowed by our Creator with the rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So that's where it comes from. Those rights are endowed to the people. The people give the consent to the government to manage the affairs of us as a society. And that is the way it is appropriately, the power appropriately flows between the citizens and the government.
Okay, how does the state government then, how does the state do that? How do they guarantee our rights? How do they promote or ensure that our rights are protected?
Something we deal with in Michigan, and I think all states deal with this to some extent, is when you get down to the township level, and all township law is only what the state gives them. If the state says the township can do it or can't do it, that's what they can or can't do. So when you get down to the township level, talk about something like zoning. We deal with this in the properties we manage as a family. We've got a few small rental properties, and someone wanted to put in a butterfly house in the Low Red Schoolhouse in 3 Mile and Hammond Grove. And that person, they talked to us, it's a great idea, it'd be a great draw, a little tourism off the strip, get it up in the community a little more. It'd be a great destination location. So she went over to the township, and the township says, I don't have butterfly house on the list of permitted uses. So, you know, is the right there unless it's forbidden, or is the right there unless it's permitted? Is it an opt-in or an opt-out right? And I believe in that if there is no law against it, it is fair to go ahead and go forward with it, unless there's a huge risk to public safety. You know, if they're getting poisonous butterflies in from Africa or who knows what. You know, if that's the case, we have a public health issue. But when it comes to this, you know, form-based zoning and you know, you can't do this, can't do that, I believe on the side of freedom, that it should be on the side of the people. That if they didn't make a law outlining the uses, it's fair game.
And one last question regarding this. Is access to health care a human right? Is access to health care a human right?
No.
Okay, Karen, where do rights come from? And what is the role of the state government in defending or promoting or ensuring our rights?
Well, as I have talked with you all over the ensuing months, I've tried to encourage all of you to start attending township meetings, board meetings, this and that. Having a voice. It's critical to have your voice be heard. In your presence. If you don't want to ask a question, be there. Listen. Find out what's going on. Active citizen involvement, I believe, is where it starts. Of course, I'm a huge proponent of the Constitution, but you know, some people and some of our elected officials have decided they'll pick and choose from what they want at a given time. That's not acceptable. What we need to do is keep them in check and to be there for all of us. Every single one of you is important in this. I can't go to Lansing to be a representative because I'm representing you. And that's how I feel.
Okay, and then is access to health care a human right?
Well, you know, access to health care, I do believe everybody should be able to earn the right to get in and have the best health care that they possibly can. Does that mean it's a given that I owe somebody something? Absolutely not.
Okay, well, you get the next question here. Are you in favor of a state application for a national Article 5 constitutional convention to amend the Constitution to include a balanced budget amendment. Why or why not?
I'm sorry, Randy, did you say a state,
The convention is supporting the convention of the states for the purpose of balancing the federal budget.
I'm against that. I don't think that we need that. That being said, I think we could have an amendment for this part-time legislature, but I don't think we need to have a convention where we go through our top to bottom. Absolutely not. No.
Ron, are you in favor of a federal, this would be the national federal convention of the states?
Yeah, I'm going to take a liberty here and kind of explain a little bit, because this has been going around, and I think there might be a little confusion based on the people I've talked to. A couple of years ago, we were looking at a state convention to redo our state constitution. That's not what this is. This is states coming together and saying we want to redo a federal constitutional convention to go back and go through the Constitution. And the idea is we want a balanced budget act at the federal level. States already have it. States can't spend more money than they make. They have to have a balanced budget. It's federal law. That's why in the Granholm days, down on the floor at the House, when they were past the deadline for the budget, they had the janitor crawl up on a ladder and pull the batteries out of the clock. It was still midnight until they got that budget done. It took them hours. Okay, so the official time on the House floor, but sometimes that's what it gets down to, and they ended up getting a balanced budget and we moved forward. But at the federal level, should we have a balanced budget? I totally support the idea of not spending more money than you make. I'm totally in favor of that. I'm not sure about this constitutional convention, and there's several strong voices that want this, and there's a lot of strong voices that don't. The question is, can you limit a constitutional convention at the federal level so that we're only dealing with this budget issue? And the answer, to my understanding, is no, you can't. It's right there in the Constitution that if you have a convention, everything is fair game. So short of some kind of assurance that we're going to stick to just the issues that this called for, I'm not in favor of it. But I'm still open to conversation. I've heard arguments on both sides, but right now I'm not in favor of a federal constitutional convention because I have no assurances they're going to stick to just the budget issue.
Okay. And the next question, how do you view the Michigan Economic Development Corporation? Does the state have a role in picking winners with our tax money? What will you do regarding that situation, or that issue?
Once again, we're back to the discussion of picking winners and losers. Is it right for the government to take your tax dollar out of your pocket and invest it in a furniture company that's going to go under in a few months? We saw this happen in the county commission. We had some kind of a weird fund that had been around for 30-some years. The county had managed for the purpose of granting, and the people that got the money, sometimes they made it, sometimes they didn't, but that all came from tax dollars. Is that right for me to borrow money from your pocket and you don't have a choice? You don't have any way to make sure I'm running my business wisely. You don't get to look at my financials, but you're paying the money. I don't think that's an appropriate way to run it. So, like I said, no one's going to go into the legislature and just knock it all out, and everything that's not appropriate is just gone in one legislative session. But I definitely would be a voice asking the right questions, asking the hard questions, saying, is this really appropriate?
So the same question for Karen. How do you view the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, and what role should the state have in picking winners?
I don't think the state has any role in picking the winners and losers in business. None. I'm for development and people to succeed. I'm a business person. I want everybody to succeed. Having said that, it doesn't happen that way. But for the government to intervene is absolutely against every fiber of my being. I'm just not about that. I'm a private sector person. I know what it takes, and sometimes, as has happened with me, you fail. You learn by those failures. You dust yourself off, you get back up. That's what you have to do. I didn't have I didn't have a safety net. I didn't have anybody I could turn to. We did it ourselves. And that is the entrepreneurial spirit that made this country great.
Okay, next question. We got probably time for two more here. Oops, I'll read this one. Okay, showing a personal ID is required when opening a bank account, establishing credit, etc. Should the voter be required to show proof of citizenship to vote?
Oh, that's an easy one. An emphatic yes with an exclamation point. If you're not willing to show your ID, as far as I'm concerned, step away. You're not going to vote in this election. I don't know what other way you want me to embellish on that. But, I mean, that's just as clear as I can be. No.
Yeah, I absolutely support showing your ID to vote, and I also support showing your birth certificate to run for president.
This is an eminent domain question here. A lot of states, including Michigan, are starting to take personal property to let another personal business or persons have the land in order to get more tax revenue. Your opinion?
So the question is about eminent domain. And under eminent domain, it's part of our government that if we, as a society, need a road or a piece of infrastructure here, the government can come in and pay the person an appropriate, fair value for that property. And basically, you have no choice but to accept them buying it. Now, you can dicker over the price, and most people do. And I recommend doing it to make sure you get a fair price. But if we have a private enterprise that wants to expand, I don't believe that's the government's place to come in and basically help XYZ company expand so they can compete with ABC company by taking someone's land forcefully. I don't agree with that.
You know, I actually know a family that happened to here in Grand Traverse County. The lady had been in her home for over 50 years. Her husband died in the home. It was heartbreaking for her. Okay, they gave her a check. She settled on an amount. But gone were her memories. It was a heartbreak for her. So I don't think the government, that's a really tough situation. I agree with Rob. I just don't think the government has a right to do that to people. I'm a big supporter of people's rights. I really am. You know, somebody losing all their memories and this and that, that's not acceptable to me. So, is there anything else?
Well, I'll tell you what, we're just about out of time. This question will be a little longer. Would you vote for nullification to stop federal government from taking over states' rights?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, we have to fight for our state rights every step of the way. It starts locally, it goes on to state, and then federal. But we have to start right here and now in this state. This is a wonderful area. This Grand Traverse region holds a lot of clout within the state now. I went to a meeting in Gaylord, and there were people from all over the northwest section. Grand Traverse County is the epicenter for it, and Governor Snyder recognizes that. You used to always hear about where I'm from originally, Wayne, Oakland, and Macomb County, and then Kent County. Grand Traverse County is really being recognized. We're on the map. We can make positive changes.
So the question is about states nullifying the acts of the federal government.
Right.
And I think this, the last few years with the passage of Obamacare and some other things that they're looking at doing, the federal government has given us a great example of what a government out of control can do. Okay, and so we've always had a balance in the United States of America because we are the United States of America. Say it slowly sometime. And remember that we are states, and states have rights too. And if the federal government is passing down bad laws, and the states agree, we need to do what we can to stop the bad laws.
Okay, we're at the end of the question period. We got 10 minutes left, so You have 5 minutes, since Karen went first, I'll let you go first for your 5-minute closing.
Well, I don't know if I can talk for 5 minutes, I
Well,
might bore you.
whatever you need.
What I'll do is I'll just take open questions for 5 minutes. What did I miss that you want to know about me, what I think, how I think, where I come from?
How will you bring transparency to Lansing?
The question is, how will I bring transparency to Lansing? Good question. There's a problem right now that a lot of our bills are proposed, they go to committee, they come out of committee, and without special interest groups, lobbyists, good and bad, a lot of times we wouldn't know what's going on. We've got groups like the AFA, the AFP, a lot of positive groups that are going to notify us of bad laws coming down the pike so we can call our representatives. So what can we do to encourage the transparency? There's a website right now the state has where you can look up bills. It's kind of tough for the average person to go in there and look stuff up. I would like to see a full revision of our state's websites. Everything from the LARA, the business sites, through the legislative information. I'd like to see email alerts available. Where you could sign up for email alerts for any of the committees the House has. That if a bill is coming before the committee, you'll be emailed. I'd like to see that email notification happen in advance. Maybe even for those that don't do email, maybe we have a postcard system where we can shoot out a postcard and say, hey, this bill is on this subject in this committee. Call your representative if you have any questions about it.
Regarding the transparency, would you put your schedule on your website so we could see the lobbyists you're meeting with?
I guess.
Good question.
I currently use Google Calendar, and I can easily make that public.
You know, as an old school teacher, I believed in taking tests. Now, instead of all these constitutional conventions where you go, this old Chinese adage, words fly into the air, but until they mean something, they come down to the earth. There's a lot of words that fly into air. I think before any individual runs for federal or state, we should get together and make a good test on constitutions. And then
I agree, they should
What could you do to get rid of Common Core in Michigan?
Okay, the question is about Common Core education. And what this is a group of states came together under the support and encouragement of the federal government to create a Common Core of education. Basically, this is what all you teachers have to teach, and this is how you have to teach it, and here's the test. Now, they'll try to say, but this is only the core stuff. You can teach everything else however you want, just these core things you have to do a certain way. Well, the thing is, they also give you the tests. And federal funding that comes to schools is based on those tests. So what are they going to teach? They're going to teach the test. I don't support a federally controlled educational system. I think local control leads to local innovation. If something great is going on in the Marquette school system, we should be able to look at them as a school district, TCAPS here, or whatever district you're in, and say, hey, something good's going on over there. Let's see if we can copy some of the right things you're doing and create a better system here. Or maybe we're doing something really great, we're getting great results. Maybe everyone looks at us and says, wow, your school district has great results. What can we do to get those results here? The Common Core model, right now our principals are spending 70–80% of their time on compliance with federal and state regulation. Okay? There's no time for innovation. There's no time for recognizing excellence. It's all about the regulation and teaching the test. And so I would certainly support getting rid of the Common Core model, putting more of the control back in the local hands of the local school boards, because they're the ones working on the ground level.
Okay, thank you. Karen?
I want to thank everybody here today for coming and giving me this time and this opportunity. Rob Hentschel and I happen to be friends. I'm not running against Rob. He's not running against me. We have both stated we're both running for something. And I have a palm card if any of you want to pick it up. It's stated, and I'm going to just embellish a little bit. It's in print here. I will ban lobbyist fund gifts and trips, unnecessary perks. I will post every vote and all state-funded office expenditures online all the time. And I might add, clearly, not like reading one of your insurance manuals, which that's another subject. Common Core is a further erosion of the family unit. We're under siege here, and we have been in this country. The erosion of the mom and dad at the kitchen table, making decisions for you and you and you with your children. If I'm in Lansing, you can bet I'm going to put the brakes on that. You know, I really feel if you don't know what I'm all about, in the next few months, I hope you learn. I'll be out on knocking doors. I knocked on the door this past week of an older lady. She's 83 years old in Fife Lake. She called me last night in tears, and she said, Mrs. Renny, I can't afford my propane bill. I don't know if I'm going to eat, or if I can get my medicine, or if I'm going to get my propane. That's unacceptable, folks. We're living in the United States of America. Now, I'm privileged to be a member and a commissioner on the board of Commission on Aging with Mrs. Sue Castle here. I know I can get her some funding for her heat. I know I can get Meals on Wheels over there. That's not enough, and that's not the answer. That's why I want to continue my quest and go on and work for each and every one of you, and that lady in Fife Lake as well. It's been my privilege these last few months since I announced my candidacy in November to be meeting with the different people, leaders in the community, the president of the college, and I met with the Cherry Festival director Friday, and we had a great talk. And they're all wonderful and fine, and they're so devoted. I love their enthusiasm for this community and the energy they put in. But none are more important than that 83-year-old lady. And when I leave here, I'll be going to see her personally. And that's who I am, and that's what I will continue to be. I'm a business person. Sue can tell you when I'm on that board, it's all business. We laugh and talk afterward. That's how I'll be in Lansing. But I'll also take that compassionate heart of a nurse. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you both for coming and speaking to us today. I think it speaks volumes that the other two candidates didn't join you. So thank you very much. And I would like to just tell you next month we will have the candidates that are running for the state senator positions with us. Please encourage your friends to come and join us. This is so important. And I don't think a lot of the ordinary individuals out there know enough about our candidates. So please encourage them to come, even if they're a Democrat, bring them along. And I officially adjourn the meeting. Thank you for coming today. Appreciate it. Glad.